Miles Teller may have played Mr. Fantastic, but there's nothing fantastic about his frequent outbursts. The Top Gun Maverick star is much more of a hero in the movies than he is in real life. In June 2017, Miles Teller was reportedly arrested for public intoxication in San Diego, California. According to TMZ, he was out partying with friends when a police officer approached the group to question Teller. He was uncooperative and was put in cuffs as a result. Teller offered his own account of the situation in a series of tweets the next day, writing, "Went down to SD to see my buddy before he deployed. I wasn't arrested, I was detained because there was no evidence to charge me with a crime. Don't believe everything you read, especially from a third-party entertainment news source trying to get clicks. Appreciate the concern." Despite his public denial of any charges, several other sources have since confirmed with the San Diego Police Department that Teller was indeed arrested on the night of the incident. Semantics aside, Teller went on to add what many regarded as deflection, saying that it was the fault of the establishment that they'd been to before the alleged lockup. It wasn't the first time his blame game behavior has caused him problems, though. When Teller landed a key role as a cast member in the cinematic adaptation of Veronica Roth's Divergent series, it was a huge boon for his then burgeoning career. Although he'd previously impressed in smaller films like The Spectacular Now, Divergent had the potential to reach Hunger Games levels of popularity. And Teller's role was one which would last the whole franchise. The series ultimately didn't live up to expectations, though, and Teller was the first member of the cast to publicly pan the project.
If I'm so important, then why did you give me such a terrible job?
In an interview with W Magazine, Teller explained, "When I first read Whiplash, I was feeling dead inside. I didn't have an interesting part in Divergent, and I'd taken the film for business reasons. It was the first movie I'd done that was going to have an international audience." He later tried to backtrack on his words, saying that they were taken out of context, but the bitter tone of the interview left a sour taste in fans' mouths. Making matters worse, once the final installment, Allegiant was dropped from Lionsgate's big screen plans and instead optioned for a TV run, Teller was the first cast member to speak up and cast doubt on his return for the altered project. He told The Hollywood Reporter, "Things do change anytime they're messing with something that was not the original intention. We all signed on for it in hopes that it'd be released in theaters, and we all had every intention of finishing the franchise." Eventually, others followed in his footsteps to exit the series as well. But considering his earlier insult to the series, his departure definitely rubbed fans the wrong way. Shortly after Teller's harsh words to W about Divergent were published, his co-star Jai Courtney stepped up to defend him. Sort of. During a chat with Elle, the actor laughed about Teller's statement and attempted to explain his meaning, saying, "I understand. I think there's a strategy to all of us who have experiences taking on the small parts because of the exposure you get off something like that. I mean, money comes into play, but it isn't like any of us are making millions yet." However, Courtney also made sure to add that Teller's attitude was very off-putting, even for those who like him. He elaborated, "I also know Miles very well. He's a very good friend of mine. He's an interesting brand, you know? It's like I wanted to legitimately punch him for a couple of weeks when I first met him. He's not there to make sure you understand his brand of comedy. It's like you either get it or you don't. And if you don't, you think he's a and he's not, at all. But it's a very specific tone." While Courtney might be able to read through Teller's harsh words, there have been plenty of others who have taken offense with his tone. Miles Teller was cast in the Fantastic Four reboot once director Josh Trank was given the helm. Trank's directorial vision and chronicle, combined with Miles Teller's hyped work in Whiplash, seemed like the ticket to box office gold. However, their professional relationship quickly soured on the set of the production, with the director reportedly being way too tough on the actors and Teller refusing to take it. As detailed by The Hollywood Reporter, during takes, he would be telling cast members when to blink and when to breathe. He kept pushing them to make the performance as flat as possible.
"I'm going to fix this."
You can't fix this. Nobody can.
Teller, who was cast in the role of Reed Richards thanks to Trank's insistence, reportedly almost came to blows with his director during a particularly intense day on set. As reported by Entertainment Weekly, the two had an intense argument on the set of the film that very nearly resulted in a physical confrontation. A source explained, he ended up almost fighting Teller, who has a reputation for sarcasm and recalcitrance while working. At one point, the conflict nearly became physical, with Trank and Teller chest to chest, daring each other to throw the first punch. Neither did. Although a lot of that tension likely stemmed from the director's well-documented antagonism, it wasn't the last time Teller and a director would fail to see eye to eye. After working with Damien Chazelle on the celebrated drummer drama Whiplash, Miles Teller was scheduled to star in the writer-director's next musical project, La La Land. However, he and his would-be co-star, Emma Watson, were both dismissed from the class list, supposedly for being too demanding. The pair were replaced by Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, both of whom would enjoy award season acclaim as a result of their roles. Teller made sure that everyone knew about his unhappiness with Chazelle's decision. He told Esquire, "I got a call from my agent saying, 'Hey, I just got a call from Lionsgate. Damien told them that he no longer thinks you're creatively right for the project. He's moving on without you.'" He then shared the exact response he had to the news, which was a text simply asking, "What the f, bro?" Of course, that was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to Teller's ill-advised diatribes in that particular interview. Perhaps the most notorious moment in Miles Teller's questionable interview history came when he spoke to Esquire in 2015. Although he would later slam the publication for misrepresenting him, the directly quoted portions of his chat were condemning enough without any editorialization. For instance, in one segment of the interview, he said, "I probably think I'm better looking than the public thinks I am. I was in one of those forums about a film I did, and it's like, this dude is so ugly. How does he get parts? Maybe it's because I came from a small town, but I always did well for myself." Teller's implication that girls from small towns have lower standards was bound to offend people in rural areas. There were a host of other cringeworthy moments from the piece, but even a year after the fact, Teller still felt victimized by the article. He later told The Guardian, "I felt frickin' helpless. I felt extremely misrepresented. I felt a little angry." For the average person, they are reading this article. They haven't met you, they're like, "Oh, Miles is an ass." You didn't hear it? You didn't read that, Esquire? Yeah, she said he was an ass. He must be.
Is it something I said?
If it were just the one interview gone wrong, he might have a point. But the Esquire incident hardly stands alone. In another instance of Teller showing symptoms of severe foot and mouth disease, the actor also seized an opportunity to distance himself from others of his acting generation in another cringeworthy chat, this time with the New York Times. He said, "I feel like a lot of actors of my generation are not proper actors. I want to break out of that whole group of actors in their early 20s and really start to put stuff down that lets you know I take this seriously." As if that self-aggrandizement weren't enough, he also made sure to set himself apart from his supposed celebrity doppelganger, John Cusack, saying, "I guess we look alike. We did some similar movies. He was a leading man that wasn't traditionally good-looking, who was offbeat and quirky but confident. I get it, but I don't want his career." The kicker to end them all, however, happened when Teller actually said the words, "I'm pretty hot now." Teller has been with swimsuit model Kelly Sperry for years, and the two appear to have a picture-perfect romance that somehow survived his many moments of celebrity conflict.
Off the market, girls, I'm sorry.
But as the pattern of Teller's interview history dictates, he of course seized on an opportunity to put down others in the process of talking about his long-lasting relationship. Speaking to Newsweek, Teller asserted that he doesn't date actresses, stating that his girlfriend was instead, quote, "a real person." He'd later elaborate on what exactly that real person status entails in a chat with E! News, saying, "Right now her full-time gig is kind of being with me. She's allowed me to really focus on acting and what I want to do. She can come to set and visit me and hang out and doesn't really distract me from it." It seems that Teller doesn't find ambition a very attractive trait. That said, by his own admission, he hasn't always been so kind to his former partners. While Teller hasn't gone into specifics about what went wrong in his previous relationships, he has admitted to being regrettably unkind to his exes. As he told Interview, "I've had certain moments in my life where I've felt really, really bad about shit I've done to an ex-girlfriend. I've written long letters, and you almost want them to say it's okay, and sometimes they don't say it. Sometimes they say, 'I never want to talk to you again.' That's tough to deal with." Teller later elaborated just a little in a chat with Elle, saying, "There was a point after a relationship was over that I did not respect the girl's feelings as much as I should have. It was from a lack of maturity." Teller later admitted that said poor decision had something to do with a subsequent hookup that was documented on social media.